Welcome to the Sanctuary. I'm Kyle, and I'm here to tell you, never be afraid. Step into the pleasure den of the absurd. Now, we're going on a week now into October 2022. And, I know it's Rocktober. We've been doing a lot of music videos on this channel, but it's the Halloween season. And it's about time we got into some movies and DVDs. There's plenty of them here in the Sanctuary. Oh boy, I kind of, I enjoy having all this stuff. And a lot of times when you want to have a little get together and put something on, you can either put it on and just have it playing on in the background, or you can just sit and watch all this stuff, and it's fun. You'll have a good time. And so I just was looking around for some stuff to talk about, and I found a few things. We're gonna start with some honorable mentions. So here's a one I got in my travels. It was a television show, and it's called Monsters We've Known and Loved. And as you can see listed on the front, you're going to get all the classic monsters. So what exactly is this? Well, it says here on the back, it's a wonderful documentary told from an early 1960s perspective. Now, in this show, television show, they discuss movies, silent movies from the 1920s, and all the classic monsters of the 30s and the 40s, and they get into the movies of the late 1950s, some of the monster movies, the AIP type stuff, the giant monster movies. And it ends, I can only assume that this television show was made in either 1962 or 1963, because they end this program by talking about a current film at the time, which was Ray Dennis Steckler's The Incredibly Strange Creatures Who Stopped Living and Became Mixed Up Zombies. And it says here, it is narrated by Joseph Cotton, and it features Karloff, Lugosi, Chaney, Laurie. The whole style of this documentary brings back all those wonderful monster boomer memories. If you were a kid that grew up in the 60s and 70s loving these movies, you'll love this, and you really will. It's only about, it's under half an hour, and they just highlight clips. Anytime, there's a compilation program that highlights clips from these old films, it's great. You want it. I love this stuff, and this is a real good one too. And here's something for you guys. This picture on the back. Okay, tell me in the comments what film this is from. I'll give you a hint. It's not a color film, and being that you have the Frankenstein's monster, that's a big giveaway right there. So tell me in the comments what movie this is from. The Mad Doctor there is the main clue. But this is a fun little show. Black and white. It's about 25 minutes. Narrated by Joseph Cotton. It's really nice. And here's a real fun one. This was originally released on VHS by Good Times Video. Good Times was a label that I really liked, and you would find these or their VHS tapes on the bargain rack. They were inexpensive, and they had great compilations of monster films and trailers and highlight reels and all this kind of stuff. And so they released a tape called Horrible Horror with Zachary. Now, Legend Films has put this out on DVD, and this version of Horrible Horror, it's the special edition, is extended by almost an hour. Much originally intended footage was never used because of the time and budget restraints by our distributor back in 1986. This Legend Films release includes more movies and many coveted Zachary cut-ins. Like Zachary would sort of like appear in the film they're showing on the screen. So like he would sort of interact with the stuff like a good horror host would. And this is fun, you know. So the premise is that Zachary is getting kicked out of his castle, and he has all these movies on film, and he decides, you know, as most people do when they're going through all their things and packing stuff, hey, wow, I forgot I had this. And so, like, you know, a lot of this stuff is like there's a whole segment on Bela Lugosi. There's those great tin can robots of the 1930s, 40s, 50s on here. There's monsters. There's clips of Night of the Living Dead on here. So this DVD version, you know, the second disc has 5 bonus extras. It's got a lot of Zachary stuff. Zachary on What's My Line, 1960. Some outtakes from this from 1986. It's got a Gumby short from 1962 called The Glob with Gumby. And it's got the 1958 film Frankenstein's Daughter, which is a fun film too. So this is great, you know. Look at this, 75 vintage films, the best and worst of horror and sci-fi. This is fun, you know, if you like old-timey. Look at this, and again, the ultimate party video. What do I keep saying? If you want to have a party, you got to put stuff like this in. Make it happen. Now here's the last one here of the honorable mentions before we get to our Halloween films. This is a fun one. It does include monsters and that kind of stuff, but it includes so much else, and it's really fun. It came from Hollywood. This came out, I think, in 1982 or 83, something like that. It's early 80s. It's John Candy and Gilda Radner. They're no longer with us. Dan Aykroyd and Cheech and Chong. They're still holding on. And so this says here, it came from Hollywood. Is a compilation of clips from many famous and not so famous B and Z grade movies, including Plan 9 from Outer Space, Reefer Madness, and Frankenstein Meets the Space Monster. Those are just a few, with wraparound segments and narration by Dan Aykroyd, Gilda Radner, Cheech and Chong, John Candy. Each comedian hosts specific genre flicks. Cheech and Chong are in their element watching drug propaganda films. Those are always fun. Dan Aykroyd warns us about aliens from other planets. Gilda Radner walks down memory lane, reminiscing about bad musicals. And John Candy presents a special tribute to the worst filmmaker of all time, Edward D. Wood Jr. Now, that certainly is a debatable topic about the competency of Edward D. Wood Jr.'s filmmaking. I think, they're entertaining and quite honestly, very, contemporary for their time. I mean, you just watch an Ed Wood film like, Jailbait, and it's not much different in its approach to many other independent films of the mid-1950s of the time. So, but this movie is special for giving a special tribute to Edward D. Wood Jr. He died in 1978, and so just a few years later, he got his due, and it's a nice tribute to him. And so it's not only that, there's stuff, juvenile delinquent films, a segment about brains, movies about killer brains. Those are always fun. When's the last time you saw a brain flying around that'll kill you? And so, this is fun. This is fun. Now, so I just, again, I was just reaching around. It's Halloween season. Got to talk about some Halloween type movies we can watch. And we're going to start off with a really good one. This is, a serious film. And, the seriousness of this film is often forgotten about and blemished by, oh God, that dreaded word, franchise. And that's Godzilla. Both of these contain the original Japanese version and the American version, which is also serious in its tone. The American version starring is Raymond Burr. I almost forgot his name there for a second. I kept thinking Perry Mason. But a very, very dark, scary, frightening, serious film. This was 1954, released in Japan, and that's just a few years after the 2A bombs were dropped, and that's what this film is. Now, this is the version from Classic Media, and comes with a little booklet, and has the two movies on separate discs, and it has bonus features too. This is the Criterion version, where they got a hold of the, original film elements from Toho, the original Japanese version, and put those in high definition. They both have special features to them. Which one would I tell you to get first? Get this one, if you can. Classic Media's version, because both of these have bonus features, great bonus features. They both have commentaries to both films, the Japanese and the American version. But this one has commentary with Steve Reifel and Ed Godziszewski. And this is great. I mean, you get so much facts about the making of the film. And the thing that makes this movie, I mean, just look at this picture. This is from the film. It's in black and white. Godzilla is this lumbering radioactive menace. I mean, he's making people sick, and, is destroying the city with his radioactive breath and burning things up, and the hospitals are overwhelmed and people are moaning, and it also has not only that aspect to it, but there's a human drama, a love triangle with the main principles of the film. And it's somber, it's sad, and it's it's such a great film, and the way it builds up with mysterious things happening, and then by the time the monster shows up. But not only that, with the way it's filmed and the look of it, it's the music that really, drives home these scenes. And the composer of this score was Akira Ifukube, who scored many of these Godzilla movies and many for the Toho Film Company. And like for this, there's a lot of rumbling piano and banging on the keys, very very modern for the time. It's almost reminiscent of some of John Cage's prepared piano works, just, and the Godzilla's footsteps was created by dropping like a guitar amplifier on the ground, and Godzilla's roar was they put resin on a glove and ran it up and down the strings of a bass, and I think they used tape manipulation on it, and you've got that classic Godzilla roar, and so there's a lot of that going on, and I like that stuff anyway, and I'm well aware of composers that have done that kind of thing in the 20th century, and it makes this film come together. It's great. I mean, a great film to watch. It's the best one. I mean, hands down. There were many afterwards, but this is the best one, and I would recommend the American version too. They really did a pretty good job in trying to blend, the American actors who were filming on a set, to their Japanese counterparts. So it was well done. It was really good. Oh man, from one to another. Here is a classic. This, I don't know about the remake, and you can forget about all the sequels and prequels and whatever. Go to the original for this one. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Look at this. This is a great Halloween movie because it's very suspenseful. It's not so much, it's not gory, it's not like a slasher film where people are just getting murdered for no reason. This one is ominous, and like you're like, wow, what's gonna happen next? How are they gonna get out of this? And that type of thing. Very suspenseful and horrific, and it'll do something to you. So when I was a kid, I was in first grade at the time, and going back to Godzilla, at that time the most current Godzilla film was released in the United States, and our family went to the drive-in and saw it, and it was on a double bill with they called it The Son of Blob, also known as Beware the Blob, which was made in like 72. And so I remember seeing these two films, Godzilla vs. Megalon and Son of Blob, double feature at the drive-in. And they showed movie trailers, between the films, as, they often did. And I was an impressionable young lad, probably 6 years old. And I saw the trailer for this film. And I was very proud of myself for not having nightmares that night. I used to have a lot of nightmares when I was a kid. And in the trailer for this film, it's dark at night, and this girl's trying to push this guy in a wheelchair, and they're like, "What's that?" And he's got a flashlight, and he shines on Leatherface, raising his chainsaw up in the air, and goes right in his torso. And, so that's in the trailer. And this was put out by Dark Sky Films. They got their catalog, 2006 DVD catalog. And so you get the film on one disc, bonus features on the other. The bonus features, it's approximately 180 minutes. The film itself is 84. So this is a good one. Great movie. I totally recommend it for, for people. Now here's a fun one. It's more of a modern time film. If you like zombies, you like comedies, this one was very well done. I really like this one. Shaun of the Dead. An homage, if you will, to the zombie films of, especially, the Romero films, the George Romero films. Very well done. And, there's... a great balancing act between humor and drama. There's some serious scenes in this film, and it all plays out very well. It's a very, very enjoyable movie, Shaun of the Dead. If you like zombie films, it's a good commentary too on sort of modern times and that kind of a thing. And here's a sort of similar type of movie. This is from 1980. Now, around this time, the Italian film industry was they were peaking, and they were making all kinds of stuff. I mean, all throughout the 70s, there was crime films and horror films and whatnot. And during this time, around 1980, things really went up a notch. I mean, gore films were prevalent since, the early 1960s with Blood Feast by Herschel Gordon Lewis. So you want to see a weird film, go see an Italian movie, man. Go, you want to see a good film, go watch, an Italian crime film. But here's one. It's about, they're not zombies. It's about a virus, and these people are infected. Nightmare City. So, their skin gets all distorted, and they go on these rampages, killing people. And if you survive their attacks, well, you're going to be infected. And it's that kind of a thing. And, the military gets involved, and, it's... This is good. This is put out by Blue Underground, and Umberto Lenzi made this film. He was also very good with with the crime dramas, the crime films of the 1970s in Italy. Good little film. And there's a bonus interview with him on camera with this, and now they are everywhere. There is no escape. Oh, and here's a fun little factoid for you. The main actor in this film, I don't know if you can read it. There's his name there. I don't know if you can see that, but his name is Hugo Stiglitz. Now, if you are a fan of Quentin Tarantino films, think to yourself, where have I heard that name before? Hugo Stiglitz. Well, it's the Inglourious Bastards. That infamous character. Hell, they put his name in type across the screen when he's introduced in the film. And that character's name is Hugo Stiglitz. And he was a real person. He was the main actor. He's the star of this film, Nightmare City. So there you go. Next, here's a fun one. I should do another video about this kind of topic, but somebody once said about Plan 9 from Outer Space that, whenever you watch it, it feels like it's 3 a.m. in the morning. And this is another one. I like this film. It's way out there, and it may not be for everybody, but The Brain That Wouldn't Die. This one was put out by Synapse, and Shout Factory put it out on Blu-ray. I got the Blu-ray too, but so the story of this is like made in '64, I think, and wait, it says 59 on here. Well, in any case, the story of this movie is this doctor is doing unethical medical experiments in a private residence, and he's working on some sort of serum. He's trying to save people's lives. I don't know. It's not really explained too well, but anyway, he's about to be engaged, and his fiance is a beautiful doctor too, or nurse or something. She assists him in a surgery in the beginning of the movie. His father is also a doctor, and his father warns him, hospital thinks you're taking the body parts from all these amputee things. He's like, well, I need bodies to experiment with, and so in the beginning of the movie, they're operating on this guy, and he dies on the operating table, and he's like, his father's the main surgeon. He's like, let me take over, and he's like, I'm gonna do something with his brain. And he's like, be careful, you shouldn't be doing this kind of thing. And he revives the guy, So, in any case, the main character, doctor, gets a phone call from his assistant, from his house, and he's like, oh, you gotta come here quick. You gotta come quick. So he tells his fiance, well, he always wanted to see the place, and so let's go. And so while they're driving there, they get into a car accident. He skids off the road, and she, it's a fiery death, and she gets decapitated. So he wraps her head in, in his jacket and runs to the house. And basically he puts her head in his serum, and she starts talking and everything. So it's a very talky type of movie, but so, he wants to marry this woman, and he can't marry her just being ahead. She wants to die. She's like, why did you do this to me, right? That type of thing. So he goes out body hunting, and so he's trying to pick up women on the street. He goes to a strip club and this kind of a thing. He goes to he lures an old high school classmate who is a figure model, and she's got like some scars on her face, and so she's got the figure, so he plans on bringing her back to his house and putting his fiance's head on her body. And the whole thing with the serum is for this type of experiment, like the body won't reject, the parts, and it's that kind of a thing, it's just a weird movie. And, so the reason, his assistant was so excited to get him over to the house was he's got some sort of creature that he's been building that's like locked up in like a cell, like a closet. He's got it bolted and everything. And so eventually the head here, is able to communicate like with ESP kind of, and communicate with that thing in the closet. And so eventually this thing busts through the door, and it's just, it's this, they got some actor who was like, 7 feet tall, and put all this makeup on him, and he just looks all disfigured and weird, and he ends up everybody dies in a fire. And so it if you want to see something late at night, and you can this is the type of movie where you could go make yourself a sandwich and come back and not miss anything really, but it's fun. It's fun. And last, probably the most all-time classic horror comedy of them all. I know Shaun of the Dead is really good, but this one really kind of kicked it all off. Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. This was the second time that Bela Lugosi played Dracula. He did other vampire roles. He did, but he only played the character of Count Dracula twice. And the second time was in this film. And Lon Chaney Jr. plays the Wolfman, Larry Talbot. He did say in an interview later on that, this film kind of ruined the sympathetic aspects of the original monsters. Like Larry Talbot did not enjoy turning into the Wolfman. He did not like knowing that he was killing people, but he couldn't help it because he transformed into this creature. And Count Dracula was a menace, a seductive guy who was undead. And then the Frankenstein monster, all these tragic monsters, were, in Lon Chaney's words, were transformed into buffoons. Abbott and Costello kind of ruined the seriousness of those monsters, much like Godzilla would become all goofy and made for children. The original Dracula and Frankenstein and Wolfman movies, were sort of, were played straight, serious, and much like the original Godzilla. But eventually it got to a point where they were just treated for comedic effect. But it does work. I mean, they are all afraid of these creatures, and there is that aspect, and some of that element is there. This is a great. There's a really good documentary about the making of this film on here, filled with a lot of historical notes and stuff like that, and it's good. Like, here's a picture on the back of the boys. Sorry about that glare, but this was made in 1948, and the original Universal Monster series, started with Dracula in 1931 and went up to 1945 with the House of Frankenstein and the House of Dracula, pretty much bookending all those films. And then they show up 3 years later in this, and again, in Lon Chaney's words, kind of ruined the real meaning of the monsters and their sympathetic qualities. But that being said, it's October, and if you want to watch some Halloween stuff, here's some good ones to start with. And as the days go on, I'll pull out a few others. We'll talk about them, and let me know in the comments if you've seen any of these. I'm sure you can find their trailers on YouTube. I love movie trailers, as you know. On this channel, I did a video about my trailer compilation DVDs, and again, just like Zachary, the ultimate party video. You want to have a good time? Put on a trailer compilation. Put on a compilation like this, or or this. You'll have fun. Good way to start your Halloween season is with a compilation. Highlight reels, film clips, trailers, and some good old feature films. Get the popcorn out, get some sody pop, and have a good time. Eat up some of that candy, and buy some more, because you might have some trick-or-treaters. You got to save some for them. In any case, I'm glad you stopped in to the sanctuary to check out some Halloween films. Maybe you've seen them, maybe you haven't. I don't know. You tell me. And if you like this kind of stuff, and if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. Click that notification bell so you'll always know when I post a video. And like, comment, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Again, thank you for visiting me in the sanctuary. This is where you come and hang out and just have some fun. And never be afraid to step into the pleasure den of the absurd.